cameras.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Nick Griot.
Sam Battersby.
And we're here on a Friday afternoon for this edition of our YouTube Live. We had an awesome YouTube Live very recently after we launched the G9, and we had so many questions that you guys had submitted that we felt it necessary to go over the G9 again. If you have any other questions for us that are topics not related to G9, of course you can feel free to ask them in this forum as well. But we are going to focus a little bit more on product selections, some of the questions that we got a lot in repeat on the G9, just to clarify it and keep talking about this awesome tool.
Yeah, thank you guys for all of your engagement. It was awesome to see all the excitement around the launch. I think we're currently on back order for a couple days. So
that's a great point. We have a question about that, and I will address it. But we wanted to start off, first and foremost, for tuning in. We've got a special for all you guys until Saturday, the 28th of September at midnight. We have a promotional code for you guys. It is SMGL4. It entitles you to 20% off all of our liquids, so you can go to the Griot's Garage website and buy some products that are on sale. So that's good until tomorrow at midnight.
Yeah, we only run the 20% off sale a few times a year, so make sure you take advantage of it.
And in the events world, we are wrapping up. We had a super busy summer. We get a little bit of a breather, but our events team is down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at Texas Motor Speedway for a Good Guys show there. So if you're in that area and you've got nothing to do this weekend, or you want to do something car-related, go see our boys down at the racetrack. They'll take good care of you.
Yeah, that's a great event. I worked that one a couple years ago. The Texas Motor Speedway is a pretty sweet venue.
Yeah, the fall one is definitely bigger than the spring one, too. It's still nice temperature.
It's huge.
But Sam is wearing a shirt. We had our big M-Car Day at the earlier beginning of this month, so we do a lot with the BMW CCA Club and the Puget Sound, a huge membership group there. And we had an awesome show for that. And then I am wearing a rad shirt from Radwood that we had the PNW show here, and our partner Avance, who we do a lot of work with. So we thought we'd freshen it up and get out of the the corporate garb a little bit and show you some of the stuff we do with some of our partners around the area. So next stop is SEMA.
SEMA, yep. The crates are actually in this room being prepped as we speak. So.
Yeah, we're polishing all the displays, we're refreshing the vinyls, we're doing all the displays for the secret new products that we're not going to talk about on this live at all. You will see them the beginning of November.
SEMA, good old SEMA crunch.
Yep, everybody's crunching. That being said too, for our SEMA booth, if you're going down there, we have some of the hottest heat you could possibly imagine in show cars. Our friends from Eddie's Rod and Custom in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Paint House. They're bringing a car.
A car and a bike. Right?
Yeah, Wicked Fabrication from up here. And then we are actually building a car with J&L Fabrication, a very bitchin' car.
It's insane.
That is going to be done for SEMA, thankfully, which is always the biggest question. Is it going to be done?
Oh, yeah. And we might have some free shirts to give away there, too, right?
Oh, yeah. We have some special giveaways. So it's definitely worth coming by our booth at SEMA, not only to see the new products, but, again, 4 cars you'll have never seen before that will be absolutely fantastic. And we will be sharing all of that on our social media, so be sure to follow us that week. We're going to be doing a YouTube Live from SEMA the morning it starts. Our Instagram will be blowing up with all of our new products and all the pictures of the cars. So
yeah, make sure you subscribe. You won't want to miss that live at SEMA. It's going to be big stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to jump into some questions because we got a lot from you guys, and we're just going to go down. Some of them are pretty rapid fire. They're clarification. If you haven't seen our previous live, we had Jeff with us. Jeff was the primary developer of this tool, along with the entire organization, to bring this tool to market. And our new manufacturing partner, but we did have some questions that we wanted to clarify. So we're going to run through them. We're going to shout out your name tags. So thank you for participating, but we'll jump right in. Let's start with...
Yeah, so this is a common one, NWD Troy from Instagram. So what's the big difference between my existing 6-inch random orbital and the new G9? Other than the fact that they're both random orbitals, there's very few similarities between the two tools. The G9 is a complete redesign. The first thing you see is the different body configuration. This is a pistol grip design, which has become largely the preference of pretty much everybody using a random orbital because it's very comfortable. You have the pistol grip with the trigger instead of an on-off switch, which is a really nice feature. It gives you full control over the orbital and a lot more ergonomics and versatility in how you can hold this tool. The next biggest difference is the power. This features an 1,000 watt motor. It's the highest power in the industry for a standard random orbital. And it is very powerful, which we'll show you later. It's an extremely difficult tool to bog down, even when you're in contours and tight, difficult areas. It's very hard to stop it. And really the quality and design has been completely reworked. There wasn't a part of this tool that we didn't touch. So the internals are going to be an upgrade. The quick disconnect cord is another huge feature. So the standard, our previous 6-inch orbital was just a standard cord attached to the tool. This is a much higher quality rubber cord versus the PVC cord on the old 6-inch orbital. And then the quick disconnect makes it very user-friendly. If you're swapping tools, or you want to put tool away and you don't want to wrap your cord around it, it makes it very convenient and easy to use, easy to operate, locks in there nicely. And then probably all the cooling innovations that are incorporated into the G9 are another huge difference. You'll notice that this tool is going to run a lot cooler. The main feature being the fan-cooled counterbalance that is underneath the backing plate here. That's going to reduce temperatures on the tool at the head and the gear set and everything, as well as the backing plate, the pad, and the paint surface. So it's going to make the process safer and allow your tool to last much longer as well.
Yeah, right on the back of that, G9, totally new tool, better in every way. We wouldn't have wasted time introducing an incrementally better tool. This is a total redesign. It is excellent. We had it at a manager's conference, big sales conference I was at on Tuesday, and I could literally turn the tool on, trigger lock with one hand, and hand it to people as they were walking by because it was so balanced and smooth. That was a great way to introduce random orbitals to somebody who has never used them.
Absolutely.
It's like, hey, this thing is that smooth, that comfortable. So it's a humongous upgrade. Okay, we have two riffs on that. Some MW Auto Detail asked, will a 3-inch backing plate fit? Quick answer, yes, but it is not ideal, primarily because we revamped the shroud to accommodate the fan-cooled counterbalance, which was technically more important to the longevity of the tool and the safety of use of the tool. Now, could you put our 3-inch heavy-duty backing plate on it? Yes. You would have to exercise more caution, and you're probably going to experience more vibration due to that being equipped.
Yeah, the weight balance isn't quite as matched. Like Nick said, you can do it, but we do not necessarily recommend it, so just keep that in mind out there. Yeah, I mean, the 3-inch capability of the previous tool was nice, but typically you're going to have separate tools designated for a specific size backing plate. Anyways, you're not going to be swapping plates in and out the majority of the time.
Yeah. Likewise, right on this is a big one we want to cover, Buyback Program. We've got a couple of questions submitted so far in the live, and we had a couple questions submitted via Instagram. 427 Sith asked us about it. Jimmer314 asked us about it. So we had a lot of people ask about the Buyback Program. Now, very simply, you have to contact us directly via phone, 1-800-345-5789. And depending on which tool you have, we've sold four different tools. This is the 5th different tool. We will give you credit based upon the age and condition of that tool. So they need to be functioning. You don't need to have bought it from us. If it's a Griot's Garage tool, then you can exchange it via our Buyback Program. So it's something we wanted to offer to our customers in order to make sure that you have the latest and greatest and, again, reward your loyalty.
Absolutely.
We've been getting a lot of positive feedback about that, so we're glad that we can make you guys happy with that. But again, you can do that via calling directly or either our Indianapolis lobby or Tacoma retail store location. Tacoma retail store, they give it to you that day. No problem.
There's some sweet incentives in there with the buyback program to help sweeten the deal for you as well. So definitely call in and check it out. Like Nick said, it's dependent on what generation or year of random orbital you have.
We had another question come in about different colors.
Oh, different colored random orbitals?
Yes. Nick Mimis from Facebook asked if it will be available in different colors.
Red and black is Griots to the core, so
Yeah.
no, you will not see this in different colors.
We have the ability to do so, but we answered this pretty briefly. I think it was at the very end of our live stream. We're going to spend our time working on the next best product. We're not going to change colors and throw you for a loop. You don't need 2 of these things. You need this.
Yeah.
We're not going to suggest that you need 10 of one thing just because it's got different colors. If you want that, you can give us a call. We can make anything happen, but we're not going to spend our development capital doing that, no.
We're more focused on innovation and giving you guys a better tool.
Okay.
So Fender Fan 79, is Griot currently hiring, and what is the staff discount? Thank you.
I'd say if you want to work here and you come and get hired, then you'll know the staff discount.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't divulge the staff discount, but I can assure you it is extremely good.
Yeah.
They treat us quite well here at Griot's, and yes, we are in fact hiring. We're actually holding a hiring event here shortly if you're local to the Tacoma area. We're hiring in both our flagship retail store and our customer service contact center, as well as a couple other positions that we have open.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in working for Griot's Garage, please reach out to us, send us your resume, your application, and you never know what's next.
Yeah, so our upcoming Caffeine and Gasoline at the beginning of October, we will be accepting resumes, so you can come up and apply for a job right then and there. So bring your resume if you're coming in locally. Likewise, you can go to griotsgarage.com, check our careers page, and there are a couple job openings that you can apply for there as well. We do have job openings in Indianapolis, so you can look for that option as well.
Yep.
So we are actively hiring. We're in a great growth pattern right now. We need more crazy people, productive crazy people to come work with us. Yeah. You like cars, it's a really great place to work.
Car people are probably a little bit crazy, so
Okay.
we know that.
Steve Fink wrote in from Facebook. You wrote a couple questions, and Steve, I can see you participating in here too. So Sam's going to take your first question. I'll take your second question.
So number 1 question from Steve is, do you offer a veterans discount? We do in our local retail store because we're able to validate it there with an ID. Unfortunately, we do not currently have a program set up through our contact center or our website. But Steve, I can assure you we will look into that because we love our veterans. We appreciate what you've done for us and the country, and we definitely want to help you guys out. So maybe we'll be able to set something up in the future for website or contact center as well.
Yeah, it goes without saying, we'd love to do that. We do, with the volume of orders, like Sam said, it is hard to verify. There are a lot of people that are a lot less honorable than our veterans trying to take advantage of that. So
Yes.
You come into Tacoma, we do it for first responders and veterans. It's very easy for us to take care of you, and we appreciate your service. So we can find a way to accommodate you. The second question, Steven, will the G9 help me grow hair like Nick's? I need it. I think that's just a genetic thing, Steve. I don't know. You can probably waste some money on
It's worth a shot.
Yeah, on some of those hair pills you see on TV, but I think just buy yourself a buffer and wax your bald head, and you'll probably look really attractive. I don't know.
Distract everyone with that shine.
Okay, and then we should look into Bruce Springsteen endorsing our Boss line. I think he'd be pretty expensive.
Yes.
I think he'd probably be pretty, unwieldy with an orbital polisher. Probably wouldn't follow processes.
Most likely, yeah, but you never know.
Yeah.
Got to be a pretty cool guy.
Okay, Sean Downs writes in from Facebook. What is the story behind the name G9?
Name G9, that's a great question. Well, the previous generation orbital kind of took on the name of the GG6 over the forums and in other worlds, and it became kind of the nomenclature internally as well. With the fact that the G9 features a 9mm random orbital, and we kind of took the G and the 9 from the 9mm and made the G9. Of course, the G is going to stand for Griot's. The GG6 The 6 portion was associated with the size of the backing plate. Since you can operate a 6-inch or a 5-inch backing plate on this tool, we didn't want the 6 necessarily to be in the name. So that's where the G9 comes from.
Yeah, and the G15 and G21, those are our long throw orbitals, so we had kind of set the naming precedent there. And likewise, like Sam said, the interchangeability of backing plates was actually becoming a misnomer for the previous generation. People were calling it the GG6. The 6 had nothing to do with anything outside of the original equipment. So we were trying to get away from that and make it more indicative of throws. And you can probably presume we are going to continue to offer a variety of throws in our machines, and that naming will continue throughout the rest of our machine line. And currently already does with our G15 and G21. Okay, so we're just firing off on some of these quick questions. We see you guys are still submitting some. So thank you for participating. We are going to choose a couple winners. So the best pre-submitted question, or the best questions we receive through this live, will get a full offering of our Boss creams and a bottle of Best of Show wax. We are going to do some demonstrations of the tool because that's one thing we didn't get to do. So we got a couple more questions, and we're going to turn this machine on, and I'm going to answer questions while Sam's doing some demos. So one more guy, Chris Beard, Facebook, bought it back in 2016, considering an upgrade. You're eligible for our buyback program. Give us a call. Chuck Weiss, how often do the brushes need to be replaced, and how difficult is it?
That's a great question. The brushes are going to have an average life of about 100 hours of runtime. That is dependent on a couple variables, speed you're operating at and how much pressure you're imparting on the tool. So that is an average. They may not last quite 100 and they may go over 100, but typically that's your average. Super simple to swap out. You've got these brush ports on the side of the tool here. You simply thread those out with a flathead screwdriver, pull your old brush out, drop your new brush in. There is a set of brushes included in the box in the nice zip pouch when you buy your G9, so do not throw those away. But you pop your brush port out with a flathead screwdriver, pull that old brush out, slide your new brush in, and reattach your brush port. That's included in one of the G9 videos on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out for more information as well. There's a couple tips and tricks that help make it even easier. The brushes also have a little wear indicator on them, so if you're curious how close you're getting to your brushes wearing down, you can pull that cap off, pull the brush out, and that little dot at the bottom quarter of the brush is your wear indicator, so that'll tell you about how much brush you have left if you want to replace them prematurely.
Yeah. Basically, it's going to be a clean cutoff, though. Your brushes will tell you if they're done. So if there's no reason to believe that the brushes are worn, keep using the machine. I think we had gotten 100+ hours of average usage, and that will vary based upon somebody who's running at speed 6, bearing into it, running it for 8 hours at a time at higher temperatures. That person's going to burn through brushes, but if you go through 2 sets of brushes and you say, hey, I'm still using my machine, I need new brushes, guess what? We're going to give you new brushes. Brushes are meant to be a wear factor. They do indicate when you need to replace them. The machine will not turn on if your brushes are worn.
Yeah, so if your machine's not powering on, nothing happened to it, check your brushes. Just like brake pads, you always replace both sides at the same time. Never try to replace just one brush side. Always do both at the same time.
Chuck Weiss asked, what are the RPMs of each setting? Off the top of my head, I do not know. I know we have it. We can contact you directly with those speeds. But the range is 2,000 to 6,000, or is it 6,400? 6,400 orbits per minute, not RPMs.
Yeah, keep in mind that orbits per minute does not translate to power. Just like RPMs in a motor doesn't translate to power, you could have a 4-cylinder that redlines at 10K but only makes 120 horsepower. You can have a V12 that redlines at 6 or 8 and makes a lot more than that. So OPMs is not the only factor. You may see other orbitals out there that are inflated above that. Doesn't necessarily mean they're as powerful as the G9. So do your research.
Okay. One last question, then we're going to do some demonstrations, and part of the questions that you've submitted will be answered via demonstration. So, Real Drynert via Instagram. I'm responsible for keeping my cars clean and shiny. How can I subliminally tell my wife to get me a G9? Hashtag tired husband, hashtag getting dark earlier, Hashtag guess who has to cut the grass.
We feel your pain.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things we were asked in our last live, what's the strangest thing that we've ever used a random orbital on? Now, I actually taught my wife how to use a random orbital to polish glass, and our mirrors, our showers were perfectly water spot free as soon as I taught her how to use that. So there are some other things that can be polished. I'm sure
As
that
well as her car.
yeah, you want to be the best looking car in the carpool lane when you're picking up kids at school. Guess what? Trade-in value of things like that means more money for flowers and clothes and who knows what else.
It's a great time of year. If you don't already get our catalog, sign up for them. Circle the G9 in there at every point possible. Leave the catalog, you know, open on the counter, open on the nightstand, open in the bathroom.
Yeah. Two last things. I got email confirmation before I got here. Some guy said he ordered it yesterday and that it was back ordered until October 4th. We have inventory in stock today. So we will be shipping as early as Monday, probably tomorrow too, a little bit on those to fulfill some of those back orders. Likewise, we had a question. Some of the guys that won the previous giveaway in the YouTube Live were still wondering. We placed all those orders. We sent out 10. We sent them standard ground, so they should have been there by now. Again, I've been in contact with a few of you guys, but those machines went out before we went on back order, so you guys should be getting those pretty soon.
And if you're a winner and you haven't received it yet, please reach out to us, give us a call, or send us an email, and we can get tracking for you.
Yeah, it's going to be Sam and I that are managing that. We can give you order numbers or tracking numbers, but we have sent them all out. We watched all the orders. I've got the order numbers on my desk, so you guys are getting your machines soon.
And shout out to our QC team for turning around that orbital order so quickly.
Yeah, we got a big container full, and they are coming out the door hot. So thank you guys for buying them.
Yes.
Yeah, we've clearly been supported from you guys very well. Okay, so last time we didn't get to turn this machine on, right? And we were talking a lot about it. We got Jeff here, and it was really exciting to have him talk about it. But this machine really is a great machine for beginners. We can set you up with a really easy pathway into acclimating with a machine, but you can really use this machine for some upper end, some professional uses as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an outstanding tool. There's a lot of versatility, obviously, in our line with all the products that we offer and what you can pair with this tool. So, you know, first off, the Boss creams and pads are going to step up the performance of a standard random orbital and give you a little more cutting ability, a little more user friendliness, a little more speed. So that's probably what we'll demo with mostly today. If you guys have questions about specific products, feel free to send them in and we will do our best to address them all. I'm going to start out just with a moderate to heavy combination. We'll go with the orange foam correcting pad and our Boss fast correcting cream. This is easily one of my favorite products, if not my absolute favorite product. Fast correcting cream is awesome. If you guys haven't used it, you definitely want to check it out. When you're throwing your pad on your orbital, you always want to make sure that it's as centered as possible. Otherwise, you will get excessive vibration. So get that nice and centered on there. You also have the hole to center it with, which can be helpful as well. I'm going to scooch this guy over.
Now, Sam is a super experienced detailer, so he's picking a preferential treatment in an orange pad and fast correcting cream. We had a quick question come in about what do we recommend for starting out with? While you're getting ready, Sam, my thought is that we sell some starter kits. If you've never used a random orbital before, our starter kits are going to be great places to start because we generally pair you with something that's not very aggressive and with a pad that likewise is pretty moderate. So we always coach that first, do no harm. 2, you can always do more, you can't undo. Now with this M5 that Sam's about to work on, we've done some test panels. We know what it can tolerate. We know it's in need of some pretty aggressive treatment. So we're not really worried about this particular process, but if you're new to machine polishing, look at one of our starter kits. Maybe go with a product such as our one-step sealant, our liquid wax 3-in-1, one of those all-in-one really mild polishes, and an orange pad. Get started, understand how to use the tool, and then you can step up to what Sam is doing.
Absolutely. So we've already cleaned and prepped the hood here. It's been decontaminated, with our synthetic clay, so we can get right to the polishing process. Always make sure you decontaminate before paint correction if it's necessary. So we'll come in, put the pad to the paint. I'm gonna start off at speed 3 and do a quick spread pass, and then I'll let Nick kind of talk through this and answer questions as we go. One of the first things I'm gonna show you guys is how the G9 will power through contours like this without bogging down, even when you're getting down into that valley. So a lot of orbitals will tend to bog down and stop when you get into valleys like this, and that is not the case with the G9. So we got that spread out. I'll speed up to about speed 5. And now we can show you, I'll get right into that valley, getting nice pad rotation there still, even when I really lean into it. One of my favorite grip locations here, but you can also come here, back there, whatever's comfortable for you. Super smooth too if you need to reach out over the center of a hood. Normally I wouldn't go outside of a section like that, but just to show you the one-handed operation, I know that's one of Nick and my favorite feature.
Yeah, I think that just what you're demonstrating with the trigger grip one hand, right? You've got enough real estate there for a 3-finger grip, but you can also bias backward. But I showed you in the last live, holding firmly over the shroud with one hand is a great way to apply even pressure. And I've never been able to do that with any other tool. So again, that was a recommended setup from Sam. We knew we had some restoration work to do on this E39 M5. It's carbon black metallic. It's a color that shows every defect, changes a lot in the light. But yeah, I mean, powering through that contour, no problem.
And I was bearing down a lot right there. I don't know if you guys could see that on camera, but normally when you're up next to an adjacent contour like that, the throw of the orbital is going to cause the backing plate to push into that, and a lot of tools will just bog down. You won't get pad rotation there. So you can see I can get into that contour into the valley or come down from the top edge like that, and no matter how much pressure, there it's flowing a little bit, but here I can really bear down, and it's not going to bog on you. So plenty of power to be a very versatile tool that you can run in virtually all areas of the car, obviously, as long as you have a 5 to 6 inch wide paint surface to work with.
Yeah. So we're going to step back and talk a little bit more categorically about the liquids that we have on the cart.
Perfect.
We had a couple questions come in. So Boss creams, most aggressive to least aggressive. You want to kind of point that out really quick?
Yeah, I can get this thing turned back around so you guys can see them all here.
Okay.
So we have 4 Boss creams, starting with the most aggressive, the fast correcting cream. Finishes down very, very well though. Being that this is the most aggressive, a lot of people will assume that it may cause haze, like they're used to with very aggressive compounds. Typically, this is not going to cause haze in a factory finish unless it's very soft and very delicate. So a really great product. Moderate to severe defects. Correcting cream is going to be your middle of the road. This is a great starting point if you're working on a paint that you're not familiar with or you haven't used the Boss creams before. The correcting cream is going to be for moderate to light defects, but very good starting point or very good product to do a test section with before you start working on the whole vehicle.
Yeah, if you meet our events team on the road or you go with our Boss Essential Starter Kit, you're going to get this product as your main abrasive. Now, like we said, do no harm. Start with a mild approach. You can always do more. You can't undo. That's why we give you this one. You can do a lot of things wrong and not get yourself into too much trouble with this product. We don't want you to do anything wrong. That's why we're here to help you do these things right the first time. But this is a great starting point, and you can always step up to a more aggressive pad and liquid and fast correcting cream.
And then you have your perfecting cream, which is going to be the lightest of these three. And this is really meant for paint refinement or removing very fine defects, such as very fine swirl marks, haze from microfiber pads, and marring from a decontamination process, things like that. Very mild, but does a great job at refining the finish and finishes down to 100%. And then we have the finishing sealant, which this is going to have very comparable defect removal to the perfecting cream, but it will also apply protection in the form of a natural and synthetic sealant. So it's going to have a Montan and carnauba waxes, as well as some synthetic products in there to give it a little more durability. Exceptional all-in-one product, especially if you're working on a delicate finish and you need to get a real crisp finish out of it. This is going to finish down excellent for you. One of my favorite parts about all four of these is the lubricity that's built into them. They don't dust when you're working, which is easily one of my favorite parts, and they also allow you to run them for a very long time. So you don't need to continue reapplying product over and over. You're not having product drying out on the paint surface that then becomes difficult to remove. And again, that prevents them from dusting. So it's a much cleaner working environment. You don't have to wipe dust off the car and out of the nooks and crannies when you're done.
So on that point, we got a question. The Boss creams were developed for long throw orbitals.
Correct.
So the long throw orbitals generate more heat than a short throw or short stroke orbital. That does not mean that they can't be used with that. In fact, they're just as effective with this. But
Absolutely.
that at added temperature, the long throw means that we have to be sure that these things don't dry out because of that increased temperature.
Yep.
So that's one very important fact.
Kind of like using high performance tires on a street car. You're just going to get better performance out of your setup that way. So these are just going to allow you to run them even longer on a standard throw orbital than you may be able to on a long throw. But even on a long throw, you're going to have almost infinite running time.
And on that same concept, we had a question about these products being developed for long throws. Finishing sealant was one of those products that was developed for the long throw, has a little bit more temperature resistance, but we don't recommend liquid wax 3-in-1, best of show wax, poly wax, complete polish, complete compound, and one-step sealant. Now, if you listen to our last live, Jeff kind of talked about why we don't recommend waxing with a long throw. And it's primarily because you generate more temperature and you prematurely bond some of the things you're hoping to add protection.
Yep. If you guys have ever heard of like buffer trails or tracking, that could be caused by two different things. Sometimes it's your pad or too aggressive of a pad or liquid combination, but oftentimes it's caused by a protectant that's being used under too high of heat and too much friction. So you put a wax on with a long throw, and a lot of the time, sometimes it'll work out fine, but a lot of the time, if you bump the speed up or use too much pressure or anything like that, you're going to wipe the residue off, and you'll kind of see a faint outline of your orbit or your pass lines. And of course, when you're finishing a car with your final step being wax, you don't want to have to go back over it. So a standard throw or a shorter throw orbital like the G9 is going to be more versatile in the fact that you can apply a wax, a sealant, as well as do paint correction with the same tool.
Yeah, and that's really the core of this. When we started with the G9, right, everybody was asking, well, why didn't you make it a longer throw? Well, our GG6 operated a very special place because it does bridge the gap. You can wax and correct with it. Now, if you're trying to get more substantial correction in a faster amount of time, long throw tools are a great option.
Yep.
But if you want something that can correct your paint and apply wax, that's what this tool is.
Absolutely. And the shorter throw is also going to be more versatile in areas like I was just working in where you have a contour or a flare coming out on the fender, or you're working up next to an adjacent surface. That shorter throw isn't going to leave as big of a footprint, so it allows you to get into those smaller, more tricky areas a little bit easier.
Yeah, think of it this way. With the G21 and a 6-inch pad, the 21 millimeter throw is essentially an inch.
Yes.
So you've got 6 inches that then goes another inch this way and another inch that way. You're essentially covering 8 inches. That does not allow you a lot of space when you're talking about a fender panel that's 4 inches tall.
Yep, and it can be frustrating. We've all run into those parts where you've got to use the edge of the pad to get in there, and sometimes even that doesn't work as well, and you've got to go grab a different tool. So if you're up, against defects and you're not worried about getting the vehicle done as fast as possible, the shorter throw orbitals can be a little bit more versatile for you.
Yeah. One other thing, if you've never used this machine before, used an orbital polisher before, a great setup is an orange pad, liquid wax 3-in-1, that or one-step sealant, an all-in-one product that will do minor, finishing sealant as well. They'll do minor correction and leave behind a protection step. That way you can do nothing wrong with that if you correctly clean and decontaminate your paint. You still want to be cautious with regards to trim and any sensitive materials on the paint, but that's a great way to get confident with the machine before going to more aggressive abrasives.
Absolutely. Or we have a lot of customers that'll say like, oh, I've got a beater car or my 16-year-old's car or something like that I'll practice on before I take it to my my show car or my nicer vehicles. That's another great way to get your feet under you before you start working on higher end stuff, or junkyard panels too.
Yeah,
great way to practice. Go spend $50 at your local junkyard and buy an old hood or an old fender, and just go home, put it on a stand or on your workbench and beat on it. And
or we talk to a lot of guys that are like, I'm going to do my wife's car or my work truck before I do my baby. Yeah, go learn. It's the same process on every car, but if you're a little bit more scared because you value one car more than the other, just start that same process. Okay, we had two questions. Can we use the GG6 pads or the previous 6-inch pads on the G9?
Absolutely. So we've got those guys down here. I tend to gravitate towards the Boss pads because, to me, I've got the experience with them, so I know some of the trade-offs, and they're a little more user-friendly in my mind. But the 1-inch thick pads are going to be, again, a great pad for a beginner because they're a little bit safer. You have a little more margin for error in the thickness of the pad. There's a little bit more to prevent you from bumping into an adjacent surface like a door handle or a washer nozzle or something like that. And it's pushing or lifting your backing plate further off of the paint surface. So there's a little more cushion, a little more forgiveness. These are going to absorb a little more of the energy from the orbital and be a little bit less aggressive than the Boss pads. So yes, these can absolutely still be used on the G9. The only orbitals we don't recommend these for would be a long throw because the thickness and the lack of a center hole in all except for the orange will cause more heat buildup, and they also hold a lot more weight in liquid, which can translate to more vibration when you're throwing that pad over a larger orbit. So for the long throws, you really want the lighter weight, lower profile Boss pads, but for your standard throw orbitals, the 1-inch thick pads are excellent. And you have plenty of options, not quite as many as the Boss system as well, so it can be a little more simple of a system to navigate for beginners.
Okay, one more time for anybody who's just joined us. We've got a ton of you guys on. We really appreciate your participation. If you weren't with us from the very beginning, we do have a special promo code for everybody who's watching. It will expire tomorrow night at midnight. That code is SMGL4. Enter that at checkout at griotsgarage.com, and your discount will be populated on all liquids on the site.
Again, that is SMGL4. Write it down so you don't forget.
Yeah. All right. NAU 1998. You've been purchasing since 1996. Looking forward to another 23 years. We really appreciate your business.
Thank you.
We want customers for life. We love hearing that you have been with us for that long. We really, truly appreciate that. Can't say thank you enough for that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I think we should do one more demonstration on the car. We're getting a lot of questions. Submit your questions. We are picking 2 winners. Once again, those 2 best questions are going to get all 4 of the Boss creams and Best of Show liquid wax. So keep submitting away. You guys clearly heard us. We had a lot of funny questions come in this time.
They're starting to pick up on the fact that we like the funny questions.
Yeah, we are humans. We're not just detailing dorks. We do love detailing, but we do have lives outside Griot's Garage. So if you can make us laugh, we really do appreciate that. Some of them really kind of even went over the line a little bit, so we couldn't talk about them. But
that's all right.
Whatever. We'll read them. We'll laugh privately, probably, but we won't address them out here.
Keep the funny coming. We definitely have some very funny customers. This has validated that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely part of our culture. Have fun in your garage. If you can't, laugh about this, then goodness gracious, go find something you can laugh about.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
Life's
like to
too
have,
short.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun doing our job. So we did have a request to see the G9 on a vertical panel.
All right.
And then
awesome.
I wanted to show the stretching on the roof. So whatever we choose to go first. So once again, if you haven't joined us, Sam had chosen the orange foam correcting pad and fast correcting cream as his abrasive of choice. We're looking at a 2001 E39 M5. This car is a S3 Dynon spec, so it's a badass Beamer. 621 crank horsepower, the full Dynon get up. Carbon black metallic paint, so it looks black in some light, and then it's a rich, deep blue, almost purple sometimes too. It's a crazy color.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of swirl marks to remedy.
Relatively hard paint too. That's why we're using a moderate to aggressive setup. For some of the heavier isolated defects, I saw a couple heavier scratches on the hood that we'll probably go after with a microfiber pad to step it up a little more. But this is a good point to mention. I've already buttered this pad when it was new, when we did the last section. So now that we're moving to a new section and we want to reapply a little product, just a couple drops is all you need. 2 to 4 drops around the exterior and you're ready to go. You don't need to continue layering it on heavy. That'll oversaturate your pad pretty quickly if you do that. So again, I'm going to do a spread pass at speed 3. I'll kind of cover the front half of this fender here, and then I'll speed up to speed 4 or 5 and slow down my arm speed a little bit. We'll lock the trigger in and then I'll speed her up. You can really get in, if you're working up next to a side skirt or down here, get it upside down. Got that nice center grip. Everything come up. Hit that wheel arch. Vertical surface there. Got that nice little crease there on the fender. Edge into that with the corner of the plate. And if you're in a spot where you can just kind of hang out, go one-handed on the center of the body there, really comfortable, very little to no vibration. A lot of comfortable, easy ways to hold this tool. So I don't know if everybody saw or could hear. But
You were out of screen when you were down on the very lower bumper, so you might want to show. Come up and do that same grip on right up here, Sam, because I don't think that was.
Oh yeah, you probably can't see down that low. Yeah, so when you're going down on a side skirt or getting the bottom edge of a bumper or something like that, it can be awesome to turn it over like this. You can cradle it to get some pressure right there, and then hold it with the center as well. That's a great way to do it once you have the trigger locked, or you can keep your trigger hand up there and work like so. Want to make sure to keep that pad nice and flat. There's really not an uncomfortable way to hold this tool.
No.
It's
one of the craziest things too is that with the balance of the tool, it's almost all over the pad center.
Yep.
And I'm just going to show you really quick because this was one of my favorite things.
You'll also notice that it's a little bit lighter. It's a little over ½ a pound lighter than our previous generation. So it's gonna, when you're doing a whole car, you will feel that weight decrease.
So the stretching of this is like one of my favorite features.
Get out of the way of the cameras here. Yeah, you can see how Nick's just, one arm out there. Nice and easy. You can still put pressure just enough with that top finger. And you also have a lot of versatility with the speed control dial being accessible from both sides. You know, if you're holding the pistol grip, a lot of times you can reach your pointer finger up to change speeds if you need to when you're out at a reach. That's really useful when you're doing, you know, SUVs, trucks, vans, where you're up on the roof and you may be on a step stool or a, you know, raised platform or something like that.
Yeah, really, I mean, the demonstration is simply that I can kind of keep my distance with my body so I'm not scraping up against the car and still have some stability. Obviously, 2 hands is ideal.
Yeah.
But when you're in a pinch, you can still, the machine is so well balanced that there's weight over the front so that you can really focus on just steadying the back. Now, again, could I do it with 2 hands? Sure. But am I going to risk dragging my arm, dragging my shirt, dragging something across the surface? Sure. But we can get consistency of results in every area we can reach.
A little bit more ability to apply that pressure when it's needed.
Yep.
Again, the Boss creams wipe off nice and easy. If you haven't experienced those before, definitely want to give them a try.
All right, guys, so we've got a couple that we've really had. We've had some great participation from. We really appreciate everybody participating.
Yep. Back over here.
But Chris Weiss, you have been exceptional in your participation and just the standard of your questions too. They're not just layups. So we thought that your question up here about, where was it? Oh, with your products, do you still have to worry about burning through the clear coat on the edges? That's Chuck Weiss. So Chuck, you're gonna win the first giveaway. It's a good question to ask.
Absolutely.
And you asked the questions about the brushes and the OPMs as well. So you've been asking some good technical questions. We appreciate that. So you're going to be our first winner. So let's talk about the clear coat. Burning in general.
So, you know, clear coat burning is always a potential risk when you're running a machine on a paint surface. There's only so much paint there, and if you go too aggressively, you can inevitably damage that. However, what you're removing, or the amount of paint that you're removing with a process on a standard random orbital or even a long throw, is only a very, very small percentage of what is typically there. So as he asked, the edges, your high edges like here on that contour, or edges of panels, will tend to be the thinnest areas of paint on the vehicle because of gravity. When the surface is painted, the paint will settle away from those panel edges and high edges on contours. Main rule of thumb with these types of areas is to just not focus on them with a lot of pressure with an aggressive pad and liquid combination. So, you know, just to give you a quick demonstration of the safety, you know, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. This is Nick's car, and I work with him, so I don't want to make any enemies, but you can just, you know, bear down on it. Normally you don't want to do this, but just to show you guys the safety, I mean, I can sit there for a decent amount of time, and, you know, I'm generating some heat, but it's still nowhere close to being enough to do damage. So that's where the random orbital, the dual action function, comes into play to make it a little bit safer for you. So yes, I would say that our products do make polishing, you know, the edges and high contours a little more safe, a little more user-friendly. But you do still want to take caution in those areas, specifically if the car has been refinished. You know, if it's been in an accident and repainted, you never know the quality of the paintwork that was done, or if it's something that's been, you know, that's had heavy defect removal or paint correction done on it in the past. You know, if you're ever in question, never hurts to measure your paint. You know, typically a paint measurement gauge isn't something that everybody has in their toolbox, but a lot of times, you know, a quality local detail shop will measure your paint for you for a, you know, relatively small charge if you don't have the ability to do it yourself and you're concerned.
Yeah, whenever we get the paint burning question, it's a lot of times from older folks. Not that it's not a really relevant question. I mean, you should be concerned about that if you can buy a really low quality machine at an auto parts store, like a two-handed little buffer, and you could probably generate enough temperature if that thing decides to melt down to burn your paint.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. Our machines are very, very well designed. We still want you to pay attention, but primarily burning paint on edges is associated with an angle grinder, a wool pad, high heats, high-speed compounds, and the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the paint is gone.
Rotary tools, too much pressure, things like that.
Too little experience. You do not need a lot of experience to use this machine safely. The only thing we ask is that you wash the car, you decontaminate this paint. We did have a question come in about taping the trim. Do you need to do that? No. Does it make sense to do that so you don't have to clean up, you don't do any adverse damage? Yes. It's just like painting a room.
Exactly.
You know, you're not going to go paint off all the edges if you're trying to make stripes by doing it by hand. You're going to have these nasty little things, and then you're going to have to go back and trim it all up. Likewise, if you get wax on your trim, you're probably going to have to clean it up with a wax remover afterwards.
And that's it. The taping process really just saves you headaches in the future. It can also prevent damage. You know, some trim pieces can be rather delicate, and some of those areas are tough to get into and to address, so you don't want to, you know, ever damage an area. Always do no harm is the #1 goal. That's why we have, you know, the trim here taped off, the wiper arm taped off if we were going to polish it all up there, just to prevent, you know, backing plate pad from hitting those and leaving product residue. If you don't tape, the potential consequences having to come around with a, you know, cloth and a cleaner to address any stains that you may have imparted into your trim, or, you know, hopefully not, but you may have to wipe off some scuffs or potentially live with nicks and things like that if you bump a backing plate into it or something.
Well, I always tape off, especially on older cars with chrome strips and stuff. They're a lot of times clamped on or clipped on, so if you bump them with the machine, it might loosen it. So it kind of acts as a boundary too,
Totally.
right?
Yeah,
You just
it reminds you.
You kind of have that guideline. So it's just good practice. The tape is cheap. Your paint and your trim and pieces, especially on older sensitive cars like this. I mean, we've got rubber lining that's exposed all over the doors and trim, and it's just obnoxious. This car is now almost 20 years old, and having to go find that part is not cheap.
Yeah.
So,
well, when I get done, I want to either be able to enjoy the car, or, you know, go drink a cold beverage, not come back and scrub polish and wax residue off of trim.
yeah,
So.
LJM two-step Spain. You just buy new trim after each polish. What are you doing here, man? You're making some loot. No, but really, it's just good practice. You know, it traditionally in the old days, those like high concentrate carnauba waxes with dry white, they tend to do that. I mean, anything that is porous, such as one of the ones that nobody ever really does is the windshield washer fluids. You'll see some novice guy, and those things are white. And it's not because they faded; it's because they're covered with wax.
Yeah, or you clog the sprayer holes with some product. That's no good. Yeah, normally we would tape those off, but we weren't polishing up there, so, and we were in a bit of a rush to get the car taped before the live.
Yeah, it is Friday night, so we're really happy that all of you guys have joined us. Hopefully, you guys are cracking cold ones and enjoying the live with us. We're probably going to do the same. We've had a long week. I've been all over the country. I logged 800 miles going through the beautiful Midwest to a sales trip with one of our buddies. So, again, you guys have been really good to us. Let's see, we got one more winner to pick. You know what, JT, you've been really active. Both of these last two lives, we're going to give you something just because this is a great question. And it will, there's two.
Oh, yeah, man, those are great questions.
Two questions. So, JT, you're going to be our winner, but what car scared you guys the most to work on? And then likewise, what is your worst detailing moment? I've got two pretty good ones.
I think I got those. The car that scared me most to work on is pretty easy. I think it was the first time I did paint correction on Richard's Lamborghini Islero a week before it got shipped out to Amelia Island in Florida. That was a pretty high-stress week for me. Didn't have a ton of time to get the car done. That was a very, pretty fresh aftermarket paint job at the time, and there was no room for error, not enough time to have anything fixed.
Yeah.
The paint was also relatively thin in certain sections because they got it so dang flat and perfect in the painting and post-painting process. That one was a little bit intimidating, but I'm glad to say that got the job done to perfection and didn't have any issues. So
Yeah, I'd say I was thrown into the fire a lot as a young kid, and I definitely had my staged ones. But my scariest time was probably washing my dad's 740 for the first time by myself, because I knew that was like my test.
yeah,
And it was a 740i 2001 sporty shorty, first car I ever did 100 miles an hour in. He does know that. He handed me the keys when I was 16-year-old.
awesome.
But it had this beautiful M parallels, so I would get the wheels nailed every time. But it was black car and it was a big sedan, so that was like a hand washing test, right? And my dad was just watching me the whole time, looking how frequently I'd wash the mitts. And then I dried the car, and it was like literally a spot check. Like I was getting concours.
yeah. He's got a
So that was definitely like the most unnerving. And then once I knew that I could wash a black car confidently, no problem. And I did detailing all through college, but that's when I had my worst moment. And my worst moment was I had one of our Porter Cable 7424s. I was doing a 2-step correction on a guy's Porsche Turbo.
Yeah.
And the machine failed. And by failed, I mean melted down and fell out and burned an enormous hole, right? It literally just went whoop. And
way.
I had a seizure it literally seized on the paint as I was polishing and burned a nice round circle there. So I had to pay for that one. That was really unfortunate, but that machine failed me, and I had been using it for a good 2 years professionally. That was really unfortunate, and I had to go to the guy and say, I was young. I was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, I just messed up your Porsche. So that was a bad feeling.
Yeah, one of the first, my worst detailing experience was one of the first cars I did professionally. I was doing it mobile with a friend of mine. It was a black Dodge Viper, and we did a small test section on the hood, and picked our combo that we liked, and then we started doing the rest of the car. Back then, I didn't have good inspection lights, and I wasn't checking my work very frequently, and neither was my partner. And we got done after probably about 6 to 7 hours combined. It'd be 6 to 7 hours total, so about 14 hours combined. Pulled the car out into the sun, and there were swirl marks left behind. So we ended up having to correct about 3/4 of that Viper, and worked into the night to get the car done for the customer. So luckily, it wasn't quite as scary as your experience, but it was definitely one of those, oh, man.
Well, that one cost me money, too, and that was really unfortunate.
This one just cost us time. But.
It was fixable, but it was just, you never want to be trusted with somebody's car and have something happen like that. So one last one. We're going to get going, guys. It's 5 o'clock on Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. One more time before we answer our last question here is, we do have that promo code. We picked 2 winners, Chuck Weiss and JT Grief. Thank you guys for your participation. It looks like you guys are liking these.
Yeah.
So we better keep doing them. I know we've got a couple planned. We're going to probably be doing them every 2 weeks, but let us know in the comments if you like Thursdays, Fridays, what day you prefer. Looks like Friday's gotten some pretty good traction.
Yeah, totally. That was surprising.
But yeah, our promo code, which expires tomorrow night at midnight, SMGL4. Punch that in at checkout at griotsgarage.com, and you can try out some of the products we talked about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the G9 live and in action. Got a curvy old E39 here to throw down the gauntlet on, so...
Got a lot more work to do.
Yeah, I know, it's not done. It needs some love for sure. Let's see. Do we ship to Kazakhstan? Sorry, no.
Not yet. Keep an eye out.
There's your answer, man. We had one last question. What are the Griots guys keeping in their fridge for beer on the weekends?
Oh man. I'm a big Vitamin R Rainier fan.
Yeah.
It's a local staple. But you turned me on to the Georgetown, is it Utah?
Oh, Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah.
Yeah.
I bought another 6-pack of that last week.
Yeah, so. Johnny Utah Pale Ale by Georgetown Brewing. Very, very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, I am a strong supporter of local beers. Granted, I'll always have some silver bullets for my football on Sunday, but at the same time, one of our local brews, Narrows Brewing, they're always putting out just wild limited edition cans like every 2 weeks. My buddy Zach, who I'm going to be brewing with in my garage tomorrow, he is an assistant brewmaster there, so I'm always, trying something new.
Hook up.
He had a weird one. I had like a peanut butter cookie one, and it tasted like drinking a peanut butter cookie. I don't really want that in my beer experience, but apparently they had to remake it because everybody liked it so much. But then I did find this beer called Kolshan Pilsner.
You told me
Oh man, that's pretty good. So thanks again, guys. I'm sorry, Lars. I'm sure you have a nice place for car in Kazakhstan. We just don't have international distribution at this point.
Not yet.
We will be in Kazakhstan at some point. It'll probably be Sam and I coming and doing the training. So be patient. This tool can go international. That was always our plan. We're going to get there very soon. So thank you so much, guys, for participating.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Have fun in your garage.
Have fun in your garage.